To Brian Kabir Robinson Jr., this is not the end. This is not goodbye. This is just so long and farewell for now. I know that living in San Francisco cannot come close to comparing to the thrill of living in Ashburn, Virginia. But thank you for everything you did for us, and we will see you very soon on the other side. So good luck and farewell, my friend. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to talk about everything involving the Washington Commanders. It is with either a heavy heart or with high spirits, depending on your outlook today, that we start the show talking about the Brian Robinson Jr. news. The fourth-round running back, a Commanders' former third-round pick out of the University of Alabama, has been traded to the San Francisco 49ers for a 2020 sixth-round pick. Although BRob will no longer be playing in burgundy and gold, he will forever be immortalized by the popularization of the big hat. We owe this one to Brian Robinson Jr. What a legacy this is. I mean, look at this thing. Only costs the price of an NFL jersey, and boy, is it worth every cent. So the trade was announced on Friday morning, maybe about Friday at lunchtime. BRob will officially be playing in the Bay Area. And with that deal completed, the official breakdown is now essentially Deebo Samuel and a sixth-round pick for Brian Robinson and a fifth-round pick. Deebo on the final year of his deal, BRob on the final year of his deal, and obviously the fifth and the sixth swapping places. I would say the Commanders definitely got the better end of this trade. The Deebo trade was not a necessity for the 49ers. Once the Commanders made it publicly known that they had no imminent plans for BRob and they effectively did not want him on the team, not because of anything wrong with him personally, but because they didn't plan on utilizing him, every other team in the league could have just waited 2, 3, 4 days. Commanders would have had to have cut him. They would not have carried him on the 53-man roster. But Adam Peters goes back to old reliable, goes to the well, calls up the 49ers, says, hey guys, boy, do I have a bargain for you, and walks away with the sixth-round pick out of it. We're going to jump into all of the details, what this means for the Niners, what this means for the Commanders, the future outlook, and a whole lot more. But before we do, guys, smash that like button if you are excited that we finally have a resolution to the situation. If you're excited that the season's getting closer, we got more news topics, whatever it is, hit the like button. That's the easiest way to support me on this channel. Jump to the comment section. Give me your instant reactions to the Brian Robinson news. Are you happy that he's gone? Do you wish he was here? What do you think of the compensation? Anything you got to say, go ahead, put it in the comment section below. What I can say about this trade is that it makes sense for all parties involved. Like I said, the Commanders were going to cut him. So the fact that they not only got the smallest bit more, which would have been a seventh-round pick, but actually even more than that with a sixth-round pick, it's a good return for a player who they believe they can get equal production from in Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. But BRob would cost $2.5 million more this year. And if they had to extend him, you're looking at another $7 to $9 million more per year. Again, they believe they could get that production out of a $1 million player, $1 million per year player in Bill Merritt. So good for the Commanders on that front. For the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey is arguably the biggest injury risk in the entire NFL. Yet he's the only healthy running back the 49ers have on their roster right now. So not only did they add a depth piece, they added someone who's reliable. BRob has missed some time in years past, but he's not suffered major injuries. It's more like he's been banged up. And if he's not the bell cow, if his workload isn't going to be through the roof, then he should be able to stay healthy. And the same goes for McCaffrey. So I actually think this is an awesome deal for the 49ers in that respect, knowing that Ayuk's going to be coming off an injury in about week 6 or so. Jennings is fighting through something. Pearsall's still unproven in the league. Kittle's getting older. Juszczyk's getting older. And as I mentioned, CMC and his injuries, this is good for them. BRob also averaged 0.6 more yards per carry when the quarterback was under center versus out of shotgun. 49ers like to be under center, use a lot of play action, so that fits him very nicely. Without BRob in the picture for the Commanders, the positions on the depth chart are officially set. Chris Rodriguez Jr. will be the bruiser back, handle a lot of the short yardage and goal line work. Bill is going to be the closest thing the Commanders have to an every down bell cow. Jeremy McNichols will be a bit of your do-it-all, lower usage, but he can serve a role in, or serve a purpose in every role. And he's also really good in pass protection. So third and longs, you could see him on the field. And then your majority third down / pass catching back, scat back, is going to be Austin Ekeler. The roles are going to fit very well together. I expect all 4 running backs to be utilized, which isn't something you see everywhere around the NFL, but in the absence of a true star player or a true bell cow, we'll see if Bill becomes that, but right now he's not. He's just a 7th-round rookie who hasn't proven anything. The Commanders are good with their depth. They're comfortable with their running back committee. And if I'm being honest, I am too. Now, the question is the value enough for trading a starting level running back? My response to that is the league will always tell you what the appropriate value is. Teams can put out smoke screens, they can put on a front, but what they give up in a draft, what they give up in a trade, where they draft a certain player, how much they send to somebody in free agency, they will tell you what they think of you through their moves. And this move is a reflection that BRob at this current moment did not have a very high trade value. Now, as I mentioned, a large part of that is due to the fact that he's out of a contract at the end of this year, and you would expect he's going to be demanding probably in the region of $9 to $10 million a year average annual value. That's my assumption. I think it was Over the Cap. Over the Cap estimated that his fair market value right now is $8.4 million. The cap's going to go up next year, and obviously he's going to ask for more than fair value because that's how negotiations do. You get bargained down. So making $3.5 million this year, final year of his deal, probably going to want $9 to $10 million average annual value on his next deal. So the team that's trading for him is essentially signing up to also give an extension, or they're signing up to lose a draft pick. So once again, the Commanders didn't really need to get anything. Everybody knew he was going to be released, yet Adam Peters still found a way to get a pick back. So I consider that a solid haul. The Commanders also needed draft picks. They got the oldest team in the NFL. You got to bring that average age down. They've positioned themselves well to make the transition with all these players on one-year deals, all the older players. But with that being said, they've got, I believe, the 3rd most free agents next season and the most the year after that. So there's going to have to be a lot of roster reshuffling, a lot of solid draft picks. You got to see how the scouting department and Adam Peters and Lance Newmark, how they do in the draft, because this team needs an injection of youth. With the pick confirmed, or with the trade confirmed and the pick coming back to Washington, the Commanders in the next draft now own their 1st-round pick. They traded their 2nd to the Texans in the Laramie Tunsil deal. They own their 3rd-round pick. They traded their 4th-round pick to the Texans in the Tunsil deal. They own their 5th-round pick, their 6th-round pick, their 7th-round pick, and they received the 6th from the 49ers. So the Commanders have 6 picks. Their 1st, 3rd, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and the 49ers 6th. So I guess the bad news part of that is that 4 of those picks are occurring in rounds 5, 6, and 7. And you want to be closer to the top, obviously, because that's where the more desirable talent pool is. With that being said, if we're looking back at what Adam Peters and company have done in the 2 drafts they've been in charge, I don't know that you can definitively say they have a higher hit percentage on the higher draft picks, or I guess technically the lower draft picks, like the lower rounds, the 1st, the 2nd round. Some of that is projection and also just the fact that we don't have a large sample size at this time. But for every Jaden and Mike Sainristil who are hits, you have the Ben Sinnotts and the Luke McCaffreys, who underwhelming to say the least up to this point. Johnny Newton, who we can see the potential, but you haven't proven it yet. And then on the other side of that, you got Jordan McGee, who I understand didn't play last year, lots of injuries, but they seem extremely high on him. You've got your Kane Madranos, who looks as if he's now the 3rd linebacker in the rotation. You got Luvu and Wagner, and then it looks like it's Kane Madrano. And Bill, who has a 7th-round pick, now might be your starting running back. So they haven't necessarily proven that just because they're picking in the 1st round means that they're more likely to hit there than on a 6th-rounder. Maybe the 2nd round is better indication for that, because their 1st-round picks, Jaden and Connolly, okay, we're cool with that. But Sinnott and Newton, those are the question marks. Also, Trey Amos entered the draft process with a medical issue, a back injury. He looks awesome in practice, but is he going to play an entire season? We don't know. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that a 6th-round pick doesn't sound very sexy, but if that 6th-round pick becomes a starter or a top rotational piece, and you gave it up for a player that you didn't want anymore, or you received it for a player you didn't want anymore, then it's obviously an extremely positive move. So we will see what becomes of this pick. But again, the league told you what they thought BRob was worth at this time, and this was a solid trade. When you factor in the Deebo move, Deebo in a 6th for BRob in a 5th, I'm all cool with that. Now, jumping into some of BRob's stats from last year, he averaged 3.7 yards per carry on runs through the A gaps. That's on either side of the center, so between the center and the guard on both the left and the right side. That is where his highest usage was. So his highest usage runs were He felt the most comfortable where the team thought that he was best served, averaged 3.7 yards per carry. He averaged his highest yards per carry on runs through the D gaps, which are essentially outside of the tight end when the tight end is in line right next to the tackle. But that being said, those were his lowest volume runs. The Commanders barely utilized him there. Now, I know the knee-jerk reaction there is, well, the Commanders clearly misprofiled him. And with an upgraded offensive line, he would have been so much better this year. And I'm not saying there isn't validity to a running back performing better with a better offensive line. But what I am going to say is if he was performing the best on those runs, yet they were his lowest usage runs, well, it's a clear indication that defenses knew how to game plan for him. They said, hey, he's not running out there. We're not going to worry about it. If he gets out there every once in a while, cool, whatever. He can do his thing there, but we know he wants to go up the middle, and we're going to be prepared to stop that. And that's what you saw more times than not. Brian Robinson Jr. last year, amongst running backs with at least 100 carries, he was 25th in yards after contact per carry, 30th in EPA per rush. He was also 30th in missed tackles forced. The only running back who had more carries than him, but fewer broken tackles, was Kareem Hunt, who also is not a very reliable player at this stage of his career. So we all know what BRob is. If it's 3rd and 2 and you need 3 yards, he's going to get 3 yards. If it's 1st and 10 and you need 10 yards, he's going to get 3 yards. He had a lot of negative plays as well. I talked about a couple of videos ago. He had the highest percentage. Actually, I take that back. He was 44th of 50 running backs in plays where he ran for 1 or fewer yards. More than 1/3 of his carries went for 1 or fewer yards. So not very much explosiveness there, not doing a good job of staying ahead of the chains in the early downs. And that's how you get into pressure on Jaden Daniels on 3rd and 4th down, and why the Commanders had to go for it on 4th down so many times, because they weren't winning the battle of the chains on the early downs. It's early. We have no clue if Chris Rodriguez and Bill and McNichols and Ekeler are going to be able to change those fortunes. But clearly, Cliff Kingsbury and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn believe that they will. So all we can do is stick around and wait. Going back to the stats here, you heard Dan Quinn in his most recent press conference talk about one of the things that he liked about the preseason game was you saw Connerly and the other offensive linemen moving in space. And it seems with Connerly and Tunsil and Coleman kicking inside the guard, they want to utilize their athleticism more. How? By getting to more gap scheme runs, Gap scheme runs, meaning that you can use horizontal blocking, traps, whams, things like that. You saw an example of it on the GT counter where Bill gets the 27-yard touchdown up the right side. It's getting the pulling tackle and guard coming around, moving in space. With Brian Robinson on the field last year, only 46% of his runs were gap scheme runs. Now, you don't want that number to be at like 80, 90%. You don't want to be totally predictable. But if it's something that DQ is saying, hey, we're excited because we can do that now. And when you think about the movement and the speed that goes into that, and you add Jalen Lane, who's a 4.3 burner, and you add Deebo, who's led the NFL in yards after catch for 4 straight seasons, and you add Jaden Daniels, who just set an NFL rookie rushing record for quarterbacks, you know how much damage he can do on the ground. It does make sense that they want players who are more comfortable in those sorts of environments, getting to the outside, using their speed to create these explosive plays, even if you're not hammering up the middle for a 2-3 yard gain on 2nd and 3rd down like BRob would have been. What else do I got here? Looking at my notes real quick. There's a lot of pressure on Bill. I almost said BRob for Chris Rodriguez and Brian Robinson together. There's a lot of pressure on Bill and CRod to perform, and this is a big gamble. Don't get me wrong. Chris Rodriguez got the first carry of that Bengals game. Is he going to get the first carry of the season? Well, his career high in rushing yards is 94. He's never had a 100-yard rushing game. His second most is 58. And this is the guy who could be getting your first carry of the season. We can make all the jokes, which aren't even really jokes, they're facts that we want about Brian Robinson never getting to 800 yards, but 700 yards a season, every season, is consistency. It's not great consistency. It's not take you over the top, and it is frustrating at different times because his yards per carry was fairly low. That being said, it is proven that he can do that. We don't know that Chris Rodriguez can do that. Bill might be the number 1 running back by the end of the season. He was hurt in his first preseason game, either the first or the second quarter. He suffered a shoulder injury. So is he going to hold up for the wear and tear against the wear and tear for an entire NFL season? We would love it if he could, I'm going to suspect that the offensive coaching staff and DQ will be able to keep him upright, but is he going to play 17 games? Is his production going to slow down as the year goes on? These are questions that still need to be answered, and we will get answers, but it will take months to get them. So go to the comment section right now. Predict, what do you think is going to happen for the Commanders rushing game? Do you expect things to improve without BRob? Do you think it was a mistake to trade him? Do you like the value? Do you dislike it? Whatever your thoughts are, go down there. Make sure you let me know. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. And if you're just excited about the Commanders season being right around the corner, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you have not already. To those of you who have, I deeply appreciate you. I love the community that we are building here. And as I always say, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.